Question number 12 of the PhilNITS FE afternoon portion of the exam. In this question, we are given a string of characters which we need to verify if it's a palindrome or not. According to the description, a string of characters is called a palindrome if it reads the same forwards and backwards. Here the input string consists of only the uppercase Roman alphabet. As an example, the string Madame is a palindrome as it remains the same when written backwards, right to left. The procedure is palindrome receives a string SDR as a parameter and outputs whether the string SDR is a palindrome or not. The procedure should use the minimum number of iterations for any number of characters in the string. Note that division is performed for data type integer, that is a divided by b is the quotient of a divided by b. Here we know from the description that we are dealing with palindromes, and the way to find out if a string is a palindrome or not is to see whether we can write it backwards, right to left, and if the output would be the same as the input. And then we do have this part about the data type integer, which I think when we do the division, the output should also give us a whole number or an integer. Okay, let's look at the program. In this program, we can see that the function is called isPalindrome, and we have the input str. The blank that we need to fill up is only one, and I think in this case I was able to get the correct answer. It wasn't too difficult for me, and even though I think that maybe it's also because I've heard of palindromes before, so that the impression I got was that it's something that I already knew. Although, based on the description, if we carefully read the explanation, it shouldn't be too ambiguous or too difficult to understand. And then, if we look at the answer group, the correct answer is letter B. And of course, if you made a wrong choice, you can test another choice to see which one among the remaining would be the correct answer. In my case, I think I was able to see that it was B, and then tested it as well. Of course, sometimes you get an idea but you don't test it, and eventually it turns out to be wrong. So if you think that the correct answer is B, be sure to also test it with the inputs, and in this case we're going to use the Madame as input and see if the output would be correct. Okay, so I have here the answer that letter B was saying, and we put it in the blank provided, and let's see if we can get the correct output given the string Madame. If, for example, we are gonna start with 1, and the I here would be less than this value here, would we be able to get the correct output? If we look at the equation that I got here, we can see that if we're starting with 1 and length, which stands for the number of characters in the string, is 5, because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we divided by 2. 5 divided by 2 gives us 2 because we are dealing with integers, whole numbers. There are no fractions. How many 2's are there in 5? There are only 2. But because we have a plus 1 here, that's why it'll be 3. And we know that it's less than 3. I currently at 1 is less than 3. And therefore, we go into the while loop. And it's saying that if the current I, for example in this case M, is not equal to the current J, which is here 5. If they're not the same, they're not equal, then we exit the while block and say that this is not a palindrome. Okay, so far the current I and the current J are the same, so we would need to do a plus 1 to I, and so we are now here. And for J, we need to do a minus 1. So from here, this is 5. We will need to be in the next one, which is A at 4. And it's saying that we test again the condition in the while loop. Currently at 2, 2 is less than 5 divided by 2 plus 1. 2 is less than 3. Therefore, we go into the inner portion of the while loop. And it's going to ask us if the current I, A, is the same as the current J, which is also A, so they're equal, and therefore we don't say that it's not a palindrome. It's actually, so far, still a palindrome. Next, we need to do the addition again to the current I, so that we are now at D, and the current I's value is 3, and J, from 4, 4 minus 1 gives us 3 as well, so we are now in this letter. And when we go back to the while loop, the condition is telling us that if the current I is at 3 and we do the len divided by 2 plus 1, we get 3 less than 3, which is not right, which is false. Therefore, we exit the while loop and go down below where we have the flag, and the flag tells us that the string is a palindrome because we didn't set it to false, unlike when we find that the current I and the current J aren't the same, aren't equal, so we set it to false. And let's just take a look at the initial value set to the flag. It is true, so the output is really Madame is a palindrome. And again, the correct answer in this case would be letter B.